Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert. You're listening to the Incredible Life Creator podcast show, the place to hear stories from global influencers, trailblazers, cutting edge visionaries, and empowered entrepreneurs from all walks of life who are examples of living an incredible life, where living life on purpose and leaving a legacy is their sole focus. As you listen to these episodes, you will be inspired to leverage their teachings and experience to discover your passion and purpose and to create the incredible life of your dreams. Feel free to subscribe, share, and listen often. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you are notified whenever a new episode is released. At the end of today's podcast, I will outline how you can help spread even more happiness and success throughout the world. But today, I am so privileged to introduce Susan Davis. Hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. And I am so excited to get into this because you are multi-talented and have some great thoughts and ideas on how we can reduce stress in our lives. But just let me introduce you. So I'm going to read your bio so people know who you are. Susan Davis has a graduate degree in energy medicine, transpersonal psychology, and is an integrative health performance coach for the U.S. Olympic ice skating team, many other professional athletes, as well as corporate executives across the U.S. She has an extensive leadership background focusing on implementation and evaluation of programs related to quality of life and recreation for the Department of Defense, and has developed her stress reduction techniques with the U.S. Army after working with them for over 20 years. She has integrated her spiritual background into her healing yoga classes and also incorporated stress reduction techniques that she practiced with returning soldiers from the Afghanistan and Iraqi wars. Susan is a practicing Reiki Master and co-author of Wartime Coping Strategies and author of Creating Life Balance, Strategies to Thrive. Currently, she is the chair of Wellness Advisory Board to the Way to My Heart 501c3. That is a mouthful. I am so excited to get to know you, Susan. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you started out and got into all these different modalities and ways of being?
Wow, that's a long dissertation, I think. But I guess to get to the point where I am now with working with energy medicine, I guess it was when we were stationed in Hawaii, and one of my girlfriends who was teaching a fitness class, we've become very good friends now, but I just met her. And at the end of the class, she said, well, would you help me pray for this 2-year-old in New York? I'm like, well, sure. What's going on? And they said, well, she's missing. And anyway, we started talking to each other, and she said, so I was telling her I was having these strange sensations when I would stand next to people, like when I would go grocery shopping or something like that. And I thought I might be losing my mind because I could see them as a child and the trauma that had occurred to them and things like that, and which I just thought I must be just going crazy. And she said, well, you should just go with me to this energy school. I'm going to go this next spring. And you probably should just figure out how to use that. It's a gift. I'm like, well, it doesn't feel like it, And she goes, well, come with me and we'll go to this school. Next thing I know, I'm on an airplane up to New Hampshire and going to this energy medicine school for my first time out, before that, though, I remember someone coming up to me at a major event. It was a luncheon I was running, and there was probably like, at least, I don't know, 600 people there. And this one person ran up to me. She says, oh my God, your aura. And I'm like, what's an aura? What's an aura? She goes, well, it's just like huge. I'm like, okay. And then I didn't think about it for a long time until I went to that school with my girlfriend, Des. And anyway, that's kind of how I started my journey. And then I realized that I did have this intuition, psychic ability to see things and how to interpret them. So basically, I was learning the chakra systems to begin with, which I still use all the time. Mm-hmm. And because the chakra systems have a system inside them. So like if you're talking about your fifth chakra, where both of us are using that today, it's you're speaking your truth kindly and compassionately, but also your thyroid lives there.
Mhm.
So, it started to correlate because I really like medicine and how to help people biologically. But now I found an ideal way of helping people emotionally. So I'm partnering up with a functional medicine doctor here in my local area, where she does the biology, she does the blood work to see biologically what is out of balance, and then I work the emotional component. But I base it off the 7 major chakra. There's many more chakras, and so I started that. I don't know, a long time ago. But then we were in the military and I was working as a leader because of my husband's position in the military, working with spouses and their families and quality of life issues and returning soldiers and reintegration and all those kinds of things. And at the end of an integration course, which is quite extensive when they return, on all the surveys, they all put down that they liked my class the best because I would put them in a deep meditation at the end of the session. So I found that was so valuable to them that they could get to this place of relaxation rather than hypervigilance.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if I gave you enough information
Oh,
there.
that's wonderful. Yeah. So just for the people who don't know, what is an aura?
It's your field outside of yourself that actually, if there's an illness, it comes into that field first. So you want to be able to check in with we have several different layers that go out. And so if you have an illness that's in the aura, it will eventually get into your body and manifest. So in energy medicine, before anything physically manifests, first it is an emotion. So we find the emotion. The body is a roadmap. And when you work privately with me, the first question I ask you in the session is, do you have any aches or pains in your body? Because the body will tell us where we're going, because you hold all the information in your cell memory.
Wow. So if you have a bigger aura, are you safer from disease? So it has to travel in further? Or how does that work?
I don't know about that, but I think that the girl must have seen my aura was probably just a gift, from God or source or whatever you believe in, to get me on the right path to go and start to investigate that, right? Because it was time for me to step on my path. And that kind of was an eye opener. Like, what are you talking about? Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And it is, common knowledge that a lot of times traumatic events or emotional stress or upset, someone in your family dying or something bad happening, and then all of a sudden someone has diabetes or they emotionally can't handle life. I mean, there's so much connection to how we're thinking and feeling, and then it will show up in the body. And I know when you go to your regular Western medicine doctor, they don't always go looking for your emotions. They're just looking at the physical and trying to, you know, do the best they can to treat that. But so much of it does come from our emotions. I mean, there was the Dr. Patch Adams who tried to get people to laugh, because laughter is very healing. When you're laughing, you're not crying, at least for the moment. So, how do those emotions just get in there and start creating havoc?
Well, if the first thing that I like to suggest is that you start your day with gratitude, because gratitude is a high vibration emotion.
Mhm.
And so with my background in energy, to me, well, I just believe everything has a vibrational frequency. Okay. So we each have our own signature frequency, but sometimes it's either high or low. And so I have a frequency, you have a frequency, the computer has a frequency, the desk has a frequency. So, but what does that mean? It means that if you're in a state of frustration, sadness, or anger, then your vibration is low, and that compromises your immune system when your vibration is low. But when you're in a state of joy, happiness, and you're doing something passionate that you love, then your vibration is high. And so when they talk about the so-called secret and how you manifest something, physically manifest, first you have to have the feeling. You can work with your left brain all you want and have your checklists, but unless you have the feeling, it's going to be a lot longer or more difficult to get that physical manifestation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I help people do, is to recognize the feeling. The feeling is the most important thing.
Mhm. So by changing feelings, we can even change things in our body, or we
Yes.
can change things outside of ourselves. Because I know I've had that experience where even like a relationship with another person, and let's say that we're at odds for some reason. Well, I just go into my thoughts and I'm like, okay, how do I want to react with this person? How do I want to see this person? How do I want this person to react with me? And when I go in and I imagine that scenario, it's really interesting how all of a sudden I get a text or I get a call or something happens where things start to go in that direction of harmony again.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So your imagination is the key element as well. And that's why even guided meditations are really great. I'm not going to say that that's the end all be all, because the thing about working with the people that I work with, I've asked the universe to send me leaders. And everyone I've worked with is a leader in their field at some level. And because my whole background is leadership. So if the leaders are teaching this, then more people are going to learn it and practice it. Because if we don't have good leadership, then you know how that goes, right? If you've been in an organization where the leader is not the best leader,
Mhm.
of course, I also think that there's always an opportunity in every situation. So, what I'm trying to get at is that there's no judgment. You can have an observation, and so we're all human. So initially it does seem like a judgment, or you're blaming or shaming or guilting or whatever those lower vibrational feelings are. Then you've got to recognize that first so that you can take personal responsibility for the outcome.
Got it. So what are the main things that you're teaching when you're working with leaders?
Well, first of all, I have to know what the leader wants. You have to have a reason to get up in the morning. What is your reason? Where do you want to go with this? How can I help you? What does that look like? And so we start there. But in my intake, I don't just start with the session there. I want to know about their biology, okay? Because it all works together. You can't separate it out. So I ask, the most important question that I ask in your session is, the number one thing is, what do you like to do for fun? And it's very interesting because most of the leaders that I work with, they're so into their work. They've sometimes have forgotten what it is they like to do for fun. But that's the key element for when their frequency is down. Then we have a go-to thing. We have a go-to, I really like to paint, or I like to garden, or it's something, it has to be the creative aspect. And most leaders are very linear. That's why they're good at leadership, because they're checking off their lists, right? But the brain is maybe out of balance. The left and the right hemispheres need to be coming into balance, which means we have to do more creative outlet things.
Beautiful. So how do you reduce stress?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize that you have stress, right? And but when I say that, you say, oh, well, yeah, I'm stressed out, right? What's going on in the world is stressing me out. Everything has changed. I might have a job. I might have to get something put into my body that I don't want to have. Things like that can be very stressful. However, if you focus on the negative, then you're going to bring more negative to you. So you've got to start out. My main recipe is drink more water, take in more oxygen, and get some magnesium, because those are the three things that are deficient in every known disease. based on the research of my mentor, who is a MD, PhD neurosurgeon, Dr. Norm Shealy. So he has done, close to 40 years of research. In every known disease, there is a deficiency in oxygen, water, and magnesium. We have control over that. So if you get nothing else out of this interview, then that's a good takeaway. So you need to practice conscious breathing. You need to make sure you have magnesium. And so a lot of people say to me, well, I'm taking a supplement. And I'm like, well, if you're having headaches or your stomach hurts or you don't feel very good, then your body's already stressed out. And that's not the quickest way to get the magnesium into your body. So I recommend transdermally. So you get a lotion or you do Epsom salt soaks every day.
Okay, so lotion or soaks. So there's not a magic amount of magnesium we should have, like to take.
Well, I mean, you can have a contraindication with magnesium. So you can have too much magnesium. So if you do it transdermally, the body will take as much as it needs normally. However, if you're concerned about it, then you need to have your blood work done and know for sure where everything is in line. So the formula for water is you take your body weight, you divide that number in half. That's the minimum amount of ounces of water that you need a day. And then if you're a hotter climate, then you need to up that water intake. And that's in pounds if you have an international audience.
Okay. And what about breathing? How should we do our breathing?
Well, there's several different ways you can, a lot of people are starting to teach breath work. And so, I mean, if you just find a breath work specialist or you decide that once you decide you're going to do something, those things flow to you. You know how that works, right? But the way I teach several different ways of breathing. I like to teach I call it the 3x3. So it's a 3-minute meditation where you're just breathing. So that if you do that 3 times a day for 7 days, you will start to see things change in your life because you've stopped. You've taken a moment and you've stopped the chatter in your mind. And most people don't really know how to meditate, and that's okay. Let's just learn. Let's something new. Obviously, if you're listening to this, then you have a discipline in some area of your life. So you mentioned that I work with Olympic athletes and pro athletes, and the reason I like that population along with CEOs is because they're really disciplined. Most of them have been in some type of sport and they have been very good at it, right? But it took discipline. So you find out what have you been really disciplined in and take that skill asset and move it in to these other areas of drinking more water, of paying attention to your breath work, and taking your magnesium.
Mm-hmm. I just had another question about the breathing. So you said you take 3 minutes and you do a breath meditation. Are we just breathing normally? Are we doing some, there's so many people that say you should breathe in this many seconds and out this many. And is there something specific that we can do to make it effective?
Well, the way I teach it is I teach it like this. So you're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Okay. So when you're doing that, when you start to really do it, because most people are breathing very shallowly. Okay. We're not getting enough oxygen anyway. But when you start to do that in the beginning, a lot of people are very dizzy because they haven't been practicing taking in that much oxygen. So you breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Count 1. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 2. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 3. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 4. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 5. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 6. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 7. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 8. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 9. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count 10. So you do that 2 more times. So when you're doing that though, you should really feel the air hitting the back of your throat. So there's another technique called ocean breath. So you're going, so just try that. You feel it hitting the back of your throat?
Somewhat. I think I need more practice.
Yeah. So try a little bit deep in the breath. So what it's actually doing is it's hitting the vagus nerve. When you hit the vagus nerve, you calm the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system down. But you should have the same feeling when you're going through your nose. So maybe in the beginning, you start with your mouth open so that you can feel the oxygen hitting the back of your throat.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's more helpful. Now I have something to practice.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, and just do that 3 times a day. So it doesn't take very long.
And it doesn't have to be like breakfast, lunch, dinner. You could, like, you've already done one today, one now, then you do one. You can do it 20 minutes from now. You can do it, whenever you feel like it. But the point is to create a new awareness. And that's why I like smartphones, because you could set an alarm on your phone to do it again. Okay, it only takes 3 minutes. You sit in the car before you're going to drive somewhere, do your breath work, or you're waiting somewhere, you can do your breath work. So I like really to try to take away all the excuses. But again, you're trying to create a new awareness. It doesn't count. The 7 days do not count unless you do 3 a day. So if you forget, then you have to start over tomorrow. But that's okay, because you're creating a new habit. You see? And so don't beat yourself up over it. It's just new and you're working on it.
Yeah, and it's like learning anything. My background is in vision therapy. I'm a behavioral optometrist. So when I'm working with people, the same thing. If we're doing a sequence when we're in the therapy room, if they make a mistake, they have to start again. And we just keep going back until they get past that spot. And then they go back again. And it's the same thing with learning music or anything. You just have to keep going back until you do it perfectly.
Repetition. I also teach piano and dance. So everything is repetition. Yeah. So, I mean, I take the skill set that I found my piano teacher. I've been moved around a lot. So I just recently found her in Boston, and I talked to her and I told her everything I learned in my piano lessons, I have crossed over into my entire life through the discipline. She was a toughie. I mean, I had to memorize everything, right? So, but that served me well. And so I'm grateful to her. And so if you're not taking a music lesson, maybe that could be your new creative outlet. Maybe you have thought about it and you just never did it. Or I just say we all must find that balance within our brain hemispheres and find that creative outlet. That's so important to raise our frequency.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Doing those creative things, like I'm an artist, so I like to paint, but everybody has their things that they like. And also, taking up some type of sport or activity is really great for your brain and for stress reduction. So, I hear a lot of people as they get older pick up like pickleball or something. So they're doing something new, and that is just so great for creating less stress and just having more fun in life.
Exactly. Yeah. So you bring up another point about stress reduction, which is movement. So yes, we need to have movement. We need to have movement every day. And oh, by the way, you should be sweating at least 3 to 5 times a week for 20 minutes. So usually it takes 20 minutes to warm up the body, and then you start sweating. So that means that's 40 minutes. So you got to, I want the 20 minutes of sweat. Okay. Not working out. And then all of a sudden you sweat for 4 minutes. You go, oh, I sweated. Oh, no.
Mhm.
20 minutes of sweating. Why do we want to sweat? Because it releases all the toxicity that's built up into our bodies. Okay. That's why you sleep better. And then you take an Epsom salt soak. It's awesome.
Mhm. So when you were working with soldiers coming back from these wars, and we all know someone or more than one person who they have come back and they're really disoriented, and a lot of times they don't really flow into life again as a civilian. So what are the things that you did to really help them do that?
The one-on-one sessions, my husband's not active duty anymore, but when I worked with groups of soldiers, then I would, do the long meditations and put them out into just to leave their body so they could rest, like sleep. And, but the one-on-ones are very powerful because what I do is a regression technique that I've named the resolution experience, which is exactly what we're doing. We're going for resolution. And so what you find out, depending on what your belief system is, I'll meet you wherever you're at on your belief system, whether you believe in reincarnation or you believe you got your blue eyes from your great grandmother. It doesn't matter. It's in your cell memory. Okay. Your cells hold memory. And so what we do is we go into the unconscious programming and delete the unconscious program that's saying, I can't sleep. Okay. Or, I'm worried about this or that, hypervigilance. And almost every time that I've worked with a soldier, they have been a soldier before. Okay. So you see, they've attracted that same experience again, but maybe this time it's to resolve the trauma. So for example, one of my clients, he wasn't sleeping at all. And so he did several sessions with me. And at the first session, we regressed. Oh, by the way, I should tell you this. I think he was in 26 blasts and 4 other explosions. So, what does that do to the body to begin with? But so he was very, he had a lot of PTSD. And so we started the first session, he regressed back to when he was 5 years old. And he fell out of a tree and hit his head. That's the first time he had trauma to his head. So we're clearing it, but then we're going further back and further back and further back. So in this session, however you want to interpret this, he was a soldier in World War I, and he was blown up in a minefield. So we cleared all that trauma, but at the same time, if you think about that, which he didn't share with me at the time, but he lost the lower part of his body. So that's your creative center. That's your reproductive system. Mm-hmm. You see, now we're talking chakra. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you're able to go in and clear the unconscious programming in order to feel alive, I need trauma to my body. You see, that's what the message was saying. And so you attract it.
Wow. So then after he's working with you, what happens to him? Like,
yeah, he after like 4 or 5 sessions, his life was back on track. He went back to college. I mean, it was amazing, actually very amazing. So yeah.
Wonderful. And I have kind of the same question about when you're working with the athletes, like the ice skaters and the other athletes you've worked with. What are you doing with them? Is it different than what you're doing with the soldiers?
Well, the one thing about my session is it's not a cookie cutter. It's very unique to you. Okay. So whatever you're coming in with, which I found very interesting when I did work with the Olympic ice skating team. I'm not working with them now, but what I found was the basic knowledge of nutrition, sleep, the oxygen, water, magnesium, nobody was teaching that and they're in the Olympics. They're in the Olympic Center. And another factor was the young ones. I had their parents come in, and I explained to them they shouldn't have, Frosted Flakes or Cheerios in the morning. They need protein, and they need real food, and they need this stuff. Well, then I found the coach asked me to work with this one skater because she was falling out of her program. And so just in the cognitive interview, she told me that one leg was shorter than the other. And I said, well, do you have a skate to compensate that? She goes, no. I mean, some of this stuff is really simple, right?
Uh-huh.
But then, then other times it's not. And, several of the other skaters, had other experiences where they had fallen, maybe in this experience or in another experience. And so we go to that trauma of the fall and release that program. In order to feel alive, I'm going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
You see how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So we can do things that are hurtful to ourselves or cause ourselves diseases or do something in the body to feel alive. In other words, we want some strong feeling of something to help us to feel alive, and a lot of times it can be damaging to us.
Well, because it's unconscious. So the key word here is unconscious. Obviously, if we knew we were doing that, I mean, like, people come to me and say, how come I keep attracting the same kind of person? Okay. So we go and we look in the session. There it is. Do you want it anymore? No. Okay. Well, let's delete it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's quite remarkable, actually. And I'm a researcher, so I'm always looking for anything that's better than that. But I haven't found anything better than this. So I keep doing it.
Uh-huh. All right. Wow. So just to change gears a little bit here, you have a nonprofit, The Way to My Heart. Why don't you
I
talk about
work with Kim McNicholas on the nonprofit, The Way to My Heart, which is a group to help people with peripheral artery disease, PAD. And so peripheral artery disease is a disease that usually doesn't get diagnosed until after you already have a stroke, which is very unfortunate because it needs to be added into your regular physical.
So how is it diagnosed and what is it?
Peripheral artery disease is simply you're starting to get claudication in your veins and arteries. So you start to have pain in your legs and your feet. And a lot of times you don't really know what that means. And if you don't have a good doctor that understands what that is, then they don't refer you to the best specialist, like a vascular surgeon or a functional cardiologist. So basically The Way to My Heart is bringing awareness to the fact that, we need to start diagnosing peripheral artery disease so that we can take action to make it go away or at least improve it. So, and the way you improve it is by walking. So when your legs don't feel good, you don't want to walk. So you're kind of creating a vicious cycle. And so the walking will actually build collateral vessels in your legs. So you actually can do that. So that's part of what I do as a coach is we do some walking, and then I'm coaching with meditation and other ideas. Like, for example, the mantra might be, my blood pressure is normal. I am smoke free. Recently, one of the participants, it's been a year, and he wanted to stop smoking. So after 3 sessions, he quit smoking, and it's been a year. So, smoking is one of the behaviors that doesn't support, your good health, obviously. And so, but a lot of times it's an unconscious behavior. We got to go find out, where did it come from? And this comes from all kinds of different places. It comes from being in the womb with your mother smoking or someone nearby, because when we're in the womb, we are being hypnotized because we are unconscious. Yeah.
That is very interesting that you say that. So I was curious, you said the walking helps these people. So what about swimming? Does it do the same thing, or do you have to have that weight bearing exercise?
Well, obviously you need some weight bearing, but maybe if swimming is what you need to start with, I love swimming because it is not weight bearing, so that you don't hurt yourself. So yes, swimming is definitely good. Most of these people don't have a swimming pool available, but that would be very good. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you have written a book, Creating Life Balance Strategies to Thrive. We all want to thrive. So talk about your book.
Okay, so at the very beginning of my book, here it is. I have a picture of it. I have a very linear test. It's a personal stress assessment. So you can actually see where your stress is coming from. So you can say, well, yeah, I have a stressful job, or, my kids are stressing me out, or whatever that you think your stress is coming from. But this is going to be very articulate and show you exactly where your stress is coming from, so that you can start to take the top 3 numbers that are off the chart and whittle them down or eliminate them altogether. So it's a very good tool to see where the stress is coming from, so that you can take physical cognitive action.
Wonderful. That sounds great. So now I just want to ask you a personal question. What gives you the most joy and happiness in your life?
Well, first of all, I have to walk the walk and practice what I'm teaching, right? So right now I'm in a dance group and we're getting ready to do another show. So I'm performing. It's kind of like an off-Broadway show, so it's pretty cool. I'm having a great time doing that. But other than that, I like to help people find out what they either forgot or they didn't know about themselves, so that they become more of themselves and move towards a balanced well-being.
Okay. Wow. So just so people can find out where you are, how do they contact you? Do you have a website or social media? How do they contact you? And if they wanted to work with you, what would be the process there?
So you can find me at susanperformance.com. I'm also on Instagram under that Susan Performance Coach, I think it is. Yeah. And then I'm also on Facebook. I think I'm in like 14 groups for the PAD group, the Peripheral Artery Disease. So maybe some of your viewers have family members that might have PAD and they're unaware of that. So I highly recommend joining the group, so that we have a lot of professionals on that group that can answer your questions. And Kim, the founder of the organization, actually goes in with the patient into the doctor's office on their phone to ask questions to get the right answers. So yeah, you can find me on my website, susanperformance.com. You can find me at susan@susanperformance.com. That's my email. And I'd love to work with you. It's quite an experience because you get to find your history.
That sounds wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for being on the podcast today, and for everything you've taught us and shown us and shared. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
Yeah. So I have one last question before we complete. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Get up every day and have gratitude. Before you get out of bed, decide you're going to be grateful. And it's going to be the perfect day. Because in every experience, there is something to be grateful for. So we must start to look for that rather than the things that aren't so lovely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And my purpose in broadcasting Incredible Life Creator is to inspire you to live a happier, healthier, and more prosperous life. In doing so, you influence and inspire those around you to do the same. There are 6 ways you can assist me to influence more people on the planet. If there's a topic or person you would like to hear from, please let me know. If you are a global influencer, trailblazer, cutting-edge visionary, empowered entrepreneur, and would like to be interviewed, request an application form and a 1-hour, no obligation, free consultation session to see what could be possible. If you are interested in launching your own podcast and to spread your own influence, then let's talk. If you know of anyone who is looking for a standout keynote speaker, then I'm offering keynote speaking focused on living an incredible life. I would value introductions to conference organizations, human resource VPs, keynote speaking bureaus, and booking people who book speakers. I'm also interested in being booked as a guest on high-profile shows nationally and internationally. So if you know of booking agents, please introduce us. And finally, I am a doctor of behavioral optometry, as many of you know, spanning 3 decades. And in September, I'm excited to officially announce that I will be launching a global venture passion project I've been working for months called Optic Brain Fit, which is like CrossFit for your brain. It's a new technology which combines vision, brain, and movement simultaneously. It can be used for rehabilitation, enhancement, and maintenance of a person's physical, mental, and emotional functioning ability. It can be used in a wide variety of demographics, special needs, to children, to athletes, to adults, to executives, to the elderly. The technology works on a gradient, allowing each participant to be progressing and learning, beginning at a level that is doable and increasing the grade as the person increases in their abilities. It can be used with low functioning individuals as well as elite athletes and high level C-suite executives and intellectual geniuses. I'm excited to share more about this. And if this piques interest with you, please message me direct. And to complete, I would love for you to subscribe, like, share, comment, and help me spread the love and positive vibes to the world. For more information, you can check out my website, drkimberleylinert.com, or follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you for listening today.